Humans, Chris Stead here. I'm down at Pitt Street Mall in Sydney, and we are at an event here for Asus for the Zephyrus and the rest of the Republic of Gamers laptops, which are coming out in the 2023 range. I'm here with Brad, who works at the company. Mate, can you please introduce yourself and let us know what you do at the company?
Yeah, sure. Hey, Chris, thanks for coming along today. My name's Brad Howe. I'm the head of the consumer business for Australia and New Zealand at Asus. And yeah, today we're here in Pitt Street to show our new ROG lineup.
Now, you just spoke us through a few of the improves for this year, but can you just take us through them again, mate, and let us know, or let people know what it is that they can expect from the 2023 ranges is different from 2022?
Yeah, sure. So one of the biggest changes from the 2022 range to 2023 is really been around cooling. So we've really spent a lot of time and effort around innovation around cooling the devices, moving from a dual fan system to a tri-fan system. So that's across the Strix and Zephyrus range. And it's really important, obviously, as a gamer, when you're actually on a device, you need to know that it's a device that's going to stay cool when you're in the middle of games. And on top of that, we've also added some additional features in terms of the cooling paste and things used on the machines as well. So not just on the CPU, but also on the GPU, in terms of making sure that paste is there and it's something that people have come to expect. But we also advertise what we use as well. So on our site, you can actually see by model exactly what paste is used, what fans are used, the thickness of the blades of the fans, the cooling pipe system, and everything across that cooling in the device, exactly what's in the machine you may be purchasing.
So why do you feel it was important to advertise those things? Is that something your competitors don't do, or is there lesser components that people use in competing laptops?
Not necessarily. It's really about a case of making sure as a brand we're always adding something new. We always want to bring something new out in our product range. So when we move from 2022 to 23, we always have to make sure we make improvements. And some of those things can be around cooling, other parts might be around display technologies as well. So it's always trying to make sure that we have something extra to talk about. I think you get hung up on a basic conversation around CPU and RAM and hard drive. Being able to talk about cooling and display technologies and things like that it's something more exciting for people to understand. And as people understand a little bit more about it, they actually can see a real benefit to their user scenario as well, especially around display technologies, and cooling from a gaming view is so important from gameplay as well.
And obviously it's about new features that you can talk to the public about, but it's got to have a practical use as well, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So it's not just
exactly.
about adding a new fan, it's got to do something.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's got to have a good reason to spend the time and money to put it into the device. You're right. It's not just something that you put in for the sake of putting in. It definitely has to have a benefit to the user, but also from a consumer point of view or a retail salesperson point of view, something for them to actually be able to talk about and help people understand, because technology is confusing for a lot of people, and the fact that you can give a real understanding of why this will better your experience, I think people appreciate it.
So in terms of consumer feedback then, you've done a fair bit of changing with the screen size, also the dimensions. Can you just take us through what you've done with the range here?
Yeah, sure.
And what consumer feedback led to that decision?
Yeah, so traditionally a gaming notebook's always been a 15-inch or a 17-inch, and we as a brand have always sort of followed that lead, but in the most recent years, probably the past 2 years in particular, we've started to add smaller screen sizes in gaming notebooks. So we're now at a point where we have a gaming notebook from 13 all the way through to 18-inch and everything in between, literally everything in between. And the idea there is that not everybody games the same, not everybody uses their notebook in the same way. So our thought process as a company globally was to make sure that not everybody wants a large 15-inch or 17-inch notebook, but a lot of people are gamers still. So bringing 13 and 14-inch into the mix is really having a work and play device as opposed to just a play device. And it's been a great success for us in terms of that 13 and 14-inch footprint, because it's nice, it's thin and lightweight, but it doesn't have the aggressive look either, which I think is key from a user scenario. If you're in a boardroom meeting, you don't want to get your gaming notebook out and it's got flashing lights and blaring sound and things, because it probably isn't right for the scenario that you're in. So the Flow range and the Zephyrus range and the G14 is the new 13 and 14-inch solution there. Thin, lightweight, doesn't have the flashing lights as much as some of the other machines that you see here today, We cover that basis as well because we know everybody loves that, but ultimately we're trying to make sure we've got a device for a consumer that's now very different to the way they used to play games. They used to play it on a 15 or 17 inch. Now they're a lot more mobile, and we've miniaturised the machines to suit that scenario now.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point there because, like for myself, for example, I do a lot of work in Adobe products, and when I think gaming laptop, I'm thinking this is also going to excel quite well at high-end software. That's fair to say?
Yeah. And it's interesting because that type of consumer always would purchase a gaming notebook and literally never play a game on the device.
Yeah.
So in our range now, not just in the gaming range, but in our standard lifestyle range, we've got that device that's for a content creator. So someone like yourself that's really there, needs a premium, powerful device, but not necessarily the look and feel of a gaming machine. So again, we've got a product to cover all bases in that regard.
So just in front of us here, we've got the four we can see.
Yep.
For those people who are looking at the range going, wow, there's quite a, what's the bottom, what's the top, what's the difference between them? Can you just give us a quick run through of that?
Yeah, sure. It can be very confusing because there is so many devices, but in terms of if you were to think of a good, better, best in this scenario we see in front of us today, we do have a very comprehensive lineup, but today we're here to talk about ROG. We do have our tough gaming range as well, which is our value proposition, really at the most entry end of town. But ROG is obviously the step up from that in our premium gaming range. So in terms of the devices we have here today, we've got the Strix G, which is our 16 inch. So traditionally this used to be a 15 inch notebook. This has now moved to a 16 inch. And the most obvious difference isn't actually the width, it's actually the height, because the height of the display goes from a 16:9 aspect ratio to a 16:10. So that's the most obvious difference. So this would be our good in terms of an Intel Core i7, starts at about a 3050 graphics card. If you then move into our next device being the better, this is your Zephyrus M16. So again, a full Intel complement of processors, goes all the way up to 4090 graphics card. Our machine that we have here today, very, very nice, thin and lightweight machine, but you can see the difference in terms of what I was saying before about maybe a little bit more aggressive as opposed to a little bit more subtle in terms of the less flashing lights. Very nice looking machine still, very powerful machine as well, but maybe suits a better scenario in terms of an office environment as well. Moving into our best being our 18 inch device, so this really replaces that 17 inch device that we previously had before. And now in quite a large footprint, but funnily enough, because the screen again is a 16:10 aspect ratio, the physical width of the device is the same as it was before. And the biggest difference here is we've obviously gone to the latest generation Intel CPUs, but also moved up to the maximum 4090 graphics card from an NVIDIA point of view as well. So beautiful device in this machine, and it's something that we hit the market with about a month ago and sold extremely well since. So, and then just on the end here, just to add a bit of flavour to the mix, in terms of our portable gaming notebook, we do have the ROG Flow. This is a Z13, so this is a gaming tablet. I'm fortunate enough to use this as my work device. I'm not a gamer by any stretch of the imagination, but for me, it's about having a portable, powerful device. So this is where you get that real overlap of work and play. In terms of a consumer might actually need a powerful machine from a gaming point of view, but then when they're at work, they just need a notebook that's nice and thin and lightweight to throw in their bag and still sort of travel around with it quite comfortably.
And with these bigger screens, extra fans, what has that done to the weight of the products?
Weight's actually very much the same as they were before. So probably the major difference is going into the 18 inch. There's a bit more weight there, just there's physically a lot more real estate in terms of screen size, but it's there or thereabouts the same as it was before.
And obviously you can spec these when you spec up these when you're purchasing, but can you give us a quick rough idea of price for the range?
Yeah, sure. So in terms of Strix, Strix would start at in a configuration of around $2,999, so $2,999. Into Zephyrus would be around $3,699, which also then incorporates a Nebula display. Strix Scar in this configuration would be at around $4,999. And in the Z13 Flow with a Core i9 Intel processor, you'd be at about $3,499.
Oh, is it as Australian prices?
Australian prices, definitely. AUD.
Brad, really appreciate your time, mate. Thanks very much for taking us through this, and
thank you.
yeah, good luck with it all.
Appreciate you coming. Cheers.
Thanks, mate.